Hey every pony, I'm Pony Fanboy. I fanboy over ponies and you just listen. And today we've got another Teenage Robot crossover fic, but instead of crossing over with Powerpuff Girls, this time we're having them cross over with My Little Pony. Yes, that's right, we're crossing over with the MLP world of Equestria, and it's just like I said with babysitting, it's going to be very appropriate because Rob Renzetti, the creator of that show, was actually the story editor for the first 2 seasons of MLP, so this is going to be interesting seeing the worlds of science fiction and fantasy finally colliding, and to help explain certain things to me is my good friend TR Fanboy. Hello! That's right, and he's going to be here to explain a couple of things to me because I'm unfortunately out of the loop with a lot of things that are not My Little Pony based, so I have to have my fellow fanboys and even fangirls explain certain things to me. Like, for example, he had to explain to me that the main villain of this show, Vexus, is a robot bug queen, and I guess that's why in this first chapter we're going to have it that she teams up with Queen Chrysalis, who is a pony bug queen. So I'm definitely looking forward to having this crossover happen. Because, I mean, with two characters very similar like that, and an Equestria Girls style story, how can you go wrong? I'm still waiting for a Kim Possible Teenage Robot crossover fanfic. How come no one's done one of those already? There needs to be one! Read it, please! We'll read it endlessly! It's not going to be a super long story like KP and Equestria Girls or Crystal Rick. We got a decent length series of chapters here. We got 3 chapters to go, and the story is called Metallic Heart. So let's get into it. This is Metallic Heart, Chapter 1, The Plan, Prologue. Queen Chrysalis walked over to a strange creature that had summoned her. "Who are you and why have you called me here?" she asked in a sour tone. Vexus looked at the mare and smiled. "I have an enemy I'd like to get rid of." Chrysalis frowned. "What's in it for me?" Vexus replied. "You feed off of love, correct?" Chrysalis looked at her and said, "Yes, me and my subjects do. Why?" Vexus walked over to her and showed her a screen. Brad, Tuck, Sheldon, and Jenny were sitting on a hill. Tuck was running around like a moron. Vexus said, "Do you see the robot girl in the middle here?" Chrysalis nods. Vexus continued, "The 2 boys have a lot of love for her. If you get rid of Jenny, you can take her place, and you know the rest." Chrysalis thought about it and turned to Vexus and said, "It wouldn't work." Vexus narrowed her eyes. "Why not?" "They are in love with the robot, Vexus. It's not real love. I have to feed off of love that is for a living being," Chrysalis replied. Vexus nodded. "You have a point," she thought about what to do. Then Chrysalis realized something. What if we brought them to Equestria and turned them into ponies, including that girl? The love would be real. Vexus looked at her with joy. "Perfect! That way we can actually kill her and she can't brought back. I'll go start a fight so you can surprise them." Chrysalis nodded. Then after Vexus walked off, she looked at the screen one last time. "I have my own plans, Vexus. I may kill her eventually, but I have something in store for the girl." Then she flies off. So far I only have one question. Chrysalis can only steal love if it's through organic beings? I mean, I guess that makes sense, but MLAATR has proven several times that Jenny's love for her friends and her family is quite real, so doesn't that technically count as organic? So that was Chapter 1, now on to Chapter 2. Where is she? Ugh, Brad groaned as he opened his eyes to figure out what happened. He looks around and sees he's in a huge forest. He then looks down and sees a small pony unconscious next to him. "What the heck? What's with the pony?" he said, astonished. "Keep it down, dude," said the smallest one. "Wait, Tuck?" he said as he recognized that voice. Tuck opened his eyes and realized he was talking to a pony. "What the?" Brad looked confused. "Why are you freaking out?" "Wait, Brad, why are you a pony?" Tuck responded. "Wait, what?" He looked at himself and realized he was a pony too. "What's going on?" he yelled. "You two okay?" answered a voice. Brad looked at the pony who had just walked up to them. "Is that you, Sheldon?" asked Tuck. "Yeah, it's me. I woke up a while ago." "What happened?" he responded. Brad responded, "I'm not sure. Wait, is Jenny here too?" he asked, wondering. "I didn't see a creature like her when I was walking around the forest," answered Sheldon. Tuck looked around worried. "What if she's a robot pony? That'd be creepy."
Hey, who you calling creepy?
Brad looked at his brother. "I don't think so. She'd be the same as she was before. At least I hope so." Sheldon nodded and said, "Let's go see if we can find any trace that she's here. Also, she may not be a pony. I saw a bunch of creatures while I was walking around. She could be a dragon or a wolf or something else." Tuck's eyes widened. "You saw dragons? Wow." Brad rolled his eyes. "Calm down, Tiger. Before we go, I want to see what I look like." Sheldon nodded. Good idea. I haven't seen myself either. All three of them walked over to a nearby lake. Brad looked at his reflection. He was a white earth pony with a red mane and were fairly long. His eyes were blue, and he had black markings on his ear. Sheldon was a peach-colored earth pony with a black mane and a yellow stripe. His tail had the same kind of thing, and his eyes were brown. Tuck was a white earth pony like his brother, and his mane and tail were black. His eyes were blue as well. Sheldon, what are these marks on our sides? Brad asked. I don't know. What mark do you have? He asked. Brad looked at his mark to his side and saw it was a map with a sword. He smiled at it. Sheldon looked and said, That suits you. Brad nodded and asked, What do you two have? Sheldon and Tuck looked and were amused. Tuck's mark was a skateboard. Sheldon's mark was a wrench and 2 gears. Brad looked over and smiled again. Suits you two well, especially since you almost skated in front of a truck. TR, did that really happen? Yeah, it was in the Season 3 episode Indestructible. Tuck looked like he was about to scream again at a reminder, but Brad covered his muzzle. Sheldon cocked an eyebrow and then said, Let's go and see if we can find Jenny. After walking for what seemed like forever, they came across a village. They noticed there were other ponies. They decided to see if any of them had seen Jenny. They started walking until they were noticed by a unicorn. She was purple with an indigo mane and pink highlights and purple eyes. Who are you ponies? I've never seen you before. We're not from here. My name is Brad, this is my brother Tuck, and this is Sheldon. We're looking for a friend of ours. The unicorn answered. Oh, I'm sure me and my friends could help you. By the way, my name's Twilight Sparkle. Sheldon went up to the mare and asked, What are these marks on our legs? Twilight looked surprised. They're cutie marks. They're a sign of your destiny. See? Mine's the element of magic. The 3 boys decided not to ask what element of magic was. Twilight stared at the colts for a minute and shook her head. Anyway, what does your friend look like? Brad rubbed the back of his head with his hoof. We're not exactly sure. We, forgot. Tuck gave him a look but said nothing. Oh, all right. I can still help you. What's your friend's name and gender? Her name's Jenny and she's a female, answered Sheldon. Twilight nodded. All right, I'll tell my friends to keep an eye out. Do you have any place to stay? The 3 boys shook their heads. Twilight stared wide-eyed. You can come stay with me if you want. The 3 boys blushed. Twilight laughed in response. Oh my gosh, don't think of it like that. I'm helping you out. I have extra rooms, don't worry. Thank you, Twilight, Brad answered as they followed her back to her library. Man, this takes me back to the seasons 1 through 3 days when Twilight was a unicorn and before she was an alicorn and living in the castle and she had her own prodigy. Ah, man. Seasons 1 through 3 days. Such nostalgia. When they got to Twilight's library, she told them that she was going to call all her friends to come over to meet them, and she was going to tell them everything. Sheldon asked her whether that was a good idea or not, but Twilight said it would be fine. Once they came, she introduced them. They saw a light pink pony with a hot pink mane. This blue-eyed mare was named Pinkie Pie. Her cutie mark was 3 balloons. Next to her was an orange pony with a blonde mane and tail. The green-eyed mare was named Applejack. She had 3 apples for her cutie mark. The pony next to her was a yellow Pegasus with a pink mane and tail. Her name was Fluttershy, and she had 3 pink butterflies for her cutie mark. Twilight had to catch her breath as she noticed her last friend wasn't there. Tuck looked like he wanted to gag at all the girls. So many girls! Ugh, he said out loud. Brad glared at him. Sorry about him, he tends to be immature. Hey! Tuck yelled in response. Brad rolled his eyes and looked at Twilight. Where's the last one? Applejack interrupted. I saw her flying around this morning, Sugar Cube. I don't know where. There was a huge crash as a blue Pegasus burst through the window. The Pegasus was blue with a rainbow-like mane and tail. Her cutie mark was a cloud with a rainbow lightning bolt. Rainbow Dash, yelled Twilight. Did you have to crash through my window? Rainbow ignored her as she turned her attention to the 3 colts in the room, who were looking at her. What are you looking at? She asked. Brad shook his head. Sorry, you just remind of our friend. Twilight looked at them. I thought you said you didn't remember what she looked like. Sheldon answered her. We meant that she reminded us of what she might look like. Rainbow looked confused and realized what they meant. Oh, so you're the 3 that were helping. Pinkie Pie hopped up and down in excitement. Yep, isn't it great, Dashie? Rarity looked at the 3 colts. We're happy to help, although why does Dash remind you of your friend? Is she blue like Dash? You know, I find it just a little weird that every pony got an introduction except for Rarity. Are you saying that because Rarity is your favorite pony? No, yes. The boys exchanged looks and nodded. Yeah, we think so, answered Sheldon. Suddenly there was a knock at the door. Twilight went over and answered. Oh, Lyra, what is it? Lyra Heartstrings was a sea green color with the same color mane and white stripe in it. Her cutie mark was a lyre. I just saw a pony run through Ponyville. This pony stole apples from a stall and ran off. Applejack was surprised. The three boys looked at each other. They wondered if it could be Jenny. Brad looked at the other ponies in the room. Rainbow Dash looked at him. Could it be your friend? Sheldon answered, it could be. Twilight nodded, then asked Lyra where the pony went. Lyra answered, the pony ran into the Everfree Forest. Rarity gasped. That dreadful place? Why would any pony go there? Tuck looked at Rarity and asked, why is she freaking out? Applejack trotted over and said, the forest is filled with dangers. Any pony who goes there rarely comes out. The three colts' eyes widened. They were worried. If the pony in question was Jenny, they wanted to make sure nothing happened to her. Twilight turned around and eyed them suspiciously. Wait, you three came out of there? Why did you? Fluttershy decided to pitch in finally. I think we should ask them later. We should probably help their friend first. The main six nodded and every pony ran off to the Everfree Forest to hopefully find Jenny. So that's the end of chapter 2, and so far what do you think, TR? I mean, it's good. I just hope the last chapter has some Jenny in it, because there's been a stunning lack of Jenny in this fanfic so far. Yeah, so now we're on to chapter 3, Can I Get Used to This? The huge group of ponies ran through Ponyville. Brad, Tuck, Sheldon, and the main six were headed off to the Everfree Forest. They were hoping to find Jenny, in whatever form she was in. The group decided to split up. Twilight and her friends went in one direction, and the three colts went in another. The ponies looked for hours and were about to give up. Suddenly, Twilight was heard calling out to her friends. The three colts heard her, and they all went to see what Twilight had called them for. When the ponies were gathered, Twilight showed them that she had found an unconscious pony. This pony was a Pegasus mare. Her coat was sky blue, her mane was light blue and silver colored, it was a messy flame style, her tail was the same, her mane was in a ponytail, and her cutie mark was strange. It was a red heart, but it had 2 lightning bolts covering it. In fact, the lightning bolts made an X pattern. Sheldon trotted over to her. He knew. Guys, I'm pretty sure this is Jenny. Applejack looked around. Look, those must be the apples she took, Rarity chimed in. Why would she steal apples, though? Twilight got a closer look at the mare. Girls, look at her. She's obviously weak. She's probably got lost and didn't know what to do. She then turned to the three colts, especially if she isn't from here. Rainbow Dash then pointed something out. But look, she didn't even eat them. Twilight shook her head. My guess is that she passed out before she could eat them. Sheldon nodded. That sounds probable. Tuck walked over to the unconscious Pegasus. Get up! Come on, he said as he tugged on her mane. Brad pulled him away. She's fine, Tuck. Relax. Tuck gave him a look. He knew that Brad was worried. Twilight called Fluttershy over. Fluttershy, can you take her to your cottage? I think it'd be best if you watch over her until she wakes up. Tuck interrupted. Why can't she come back to your library? Twilight understood the question. Fair question, Tuck. I think it's best because Fluttershy is better at caring for others. She might be the best pony to wake up to. The three colts looked at each other and reluctantly let Fluttershy take her. Dash helped Fluttershy lift her despite the fact that she was very light for a Pegasus. I think it's funny that they say that Jenny's Pegasus form is pretty light because in one episode of the show, that's pretty contrary. Jenny's POV. What happened? I remember I was trying to get some food, but I think I passed out once I got back to that forest. It sure was shocking waking up to winged horses and not a robot like I usually am. At least I figured out how breathing works. I don't understand. Because she is a robot? She doesn't have lungs? She doesn't breathe? Oh, yeah, right. I moved my back legs to get used to a more comfortable position, then realized something. Wait, it feels like I'm on a couch, or at least the surface that isn't grass. I decided to open my eyes and see what was going on. I had to blink a few times because the light hurt my eyes a bit. Yet another thing I wasn't used to. It seemed like everything was painful. Like I was smacked into a tree while trying to figure out how to fly with wings and not boosters. I lifted my head and realized I was in some kind of house or cottage. I looked down and I was indeed on a couch. I attempted to get up and I ended up face first on the floor. I pulled myself up and while I still wobbled, I managed to stay upright. I saw a mirror on the other side of the room and decided to get a better look at myself. I looked similar to my old appearance. I only had one ponytail though. I made my tail move. I sighed. I'm so confused! I then wondered if my whole body could feel pain. I remember that when I first tried it, it was only on certain parts of my body. I bit down on my tail. Yow! Dang. Well, now I know. Then I heard footsteps running toward my direction. I got into a fighting position, but admittedly I probably looked pretty dumb. I tried to get on 2 legs and that didn't work, so I was crouching on all 4s with my wings spread. A yellow pony that had wings like me came running in. She looked kind of pretty, I thought. Yellow coat and pink man. Aw, she thinks that Fluttershy's cute. That means that Jenny's a Pegasister! She saw me and said some things like, "Are you okay?" or "You're awake." I kinda just awkwardly answered yes. She then made a comment about how my eyes were pretty. I looked in the mirror behind me and noticed my eyes were purple. That's new. I turned back to the strange horse. "What's your name?" She told me her name was Fluttershy. Aw, that's a cute name. Where am I? You're in my cottage. You're also in Ponyville. A couple of colts were looking for you, and they were with us when we found you passed out in the Everfree Forest. I don't remember the 2's names, but I think one was named Tuck. I was shocked. Brad, Tuck, and Sheldon were here too? I snapped out of my thoughts when Fluttershy asked me a weird question. "What is your cutie mark supposed to represent?" My ears fell. What is she talking about? What's a cutie mark? Fluttershy looked shocked, but she smiled sheepishly. I shouldn't be surprised you don't know. Those colts didn't know either. Admittedly, I wasn't listening. I was too lost in my own thoughts. I then started to feel dizzy and fell back onto the floor. Fluttershy ran over to me. "Oh my gosh, are you okay? Do you not feel well?" I shook my head so I cleared my head enough to answer. Yeah, I'm fine. I'm just not used to being like this," I said, looking down at myself. Fluttershy nodded. I was surprised how understanding and kind she was. I smiled at her, although I still was a little uneasy. "Where are we exactly? Like what town or city?" Fluttershy quickly answered, "We're in Ponyville." I mentally facepalmed. I could have figured that out. Fluttershy then spoke again. "Hey, why don't we go outside? I mean, if you want to." I nodded. "All right, Fluttershy." We both walked out the door and was greeted by bright sunlight and more colorful ponies. I don't know why exactly, but I covered my eyes with my wings. I think it's because, once again, it hurt, and moving my wings in front of my face must have been a reflex. We walked forward, and eventually we came to a pony who seemed different from the rest. Unlike the others I had seen, she had wings and a horn, which Fluttershy told me about unicorns and how I was a Pegasus. I still didn't quite understand, but I just pretended I did. "Oh, you're awake. Fluttershy, how is she?" "Oh, she's alright, although she seems to get dizzy and spells off and on." I rolled my eyes. Why are they talking about me like I'm not 3 feet away, I thought. I asked forward, who are you?" I asked the purple pony. "Oh, my name's Twilight Sparkle. I can see you're confused. I am an alicorn, a pony who bears a horn and wings. I'm also a princess. All alicorns are." Wait a second, earlier in the story they said that she was a unicorn. Now all of a sudden she's an alicorn? Well, this came out in 2015, so this must have been officially after Twilight was a unicorn. Once again, my ears fell against my head. I had no idea how to process this, but again, I decided to worry about it later. "Where are my friends?" I said, probably a bit too harsh. Fluttershy squeaked and covered her eyes with her who's? Sorry, Fluttershy. Twilight smiled. "It's alright, Jenny. She's timid." I nodded and started to walk with her, but I stopped. Whoa. Wait a minute. How do you know my name? I never told you." Twilight laughed. I narrowed my eyes. I didn't like being laughed at. "Your friend said it when we found you. I assumed that was your name." I blushed. "Oh." Twilight laughed again, and Fluttershy got back up. I felt embarrassed and angry before, but this felt different. My chest felt like it was on fire. It didn't hurt, but it felt uncomfortable. I just wanted to see my friends, but Twilight was rambling on about something else. After she rambled for 10 minutes, I lost my temper. I rose on 2 legs and stomped on the ground with my front legs. Fluttershy shot up into the air and flew behind Twilight. "Would you please just show me where my friends are?" I almost said, growling. Twilight glared at me. "Would you calm down? I was getting to that. You don't have to scream and attract attention." I looked around and 5 other ponies were staring at me. I backed down and stayed quiet. Since Twilight was still talking, I wandered off. I looked around, and still, I didn't really know how to feel. I guess confused is the way I felt. Why was I here? Why are my friends here? Why are we ponies? Well, you know, if they're trying to find an easy way home, they could easily go to the pony version of Star Butterfly who could hook them up with some dimension scissors. Different fandom, dude. I had so many questions, but I didn't really think I'd get them answered unless I found the others. While I was walking, I heard crying. I don't know what it was, but it was a feeling similar to how I was programmed. I felt some kind of urge to find out who was crying and stop whatever was making them cry. I heard it and flicked my ears to keep it in my hearing. After about a minute or two, I found the source. There were 5 small ponies. 3 of them had no wings or horns, 1 of them had a horn, and another had wings. The one who was crying was a white unicorn with a swirly mane. Her eyes were light green. I listened and heard two of the regular ponies insulting the other three. That burning feeling in my chest came back. The way those bullies were acting. It was way too familiar. I narrowed my eyes and spread my wings. Then I jumped into the air and dove down in between them. I pounded down loudly enough to scare them. Look, back off. Bullying gets you nowhere. All it does is prove how evil and weak you are. Leave these girls alone, I said, scolding. While they both ran away, one of them said, I'm telling my daddy. I blew some of my hair out of my face in retort and flicked my tail. The other three girls ran to me and seemed excited. Rainbow Dash, you're the best, the Pegasus said. I was, again, confused. Who was Rainbow Dash? I decided to answer the kids. My name's not Rainbow Dash, it's Jenny. The orange Pegasus seemed disappointed, and the others started asking other questions. The unicorn asked why she hadn't seen me before, and so on. I didn't really feel like answering the question, so I tried walking away. However, I noticed they started following me. I sighed and let them do it. As we were talking, I came to enjoy their company. They were adorable. I decided to ask a few questions of my own. What are your names? The orange Pegasus responded. Scootaloo. The white unicorn responded. Sweetie Belle. The regular pony answered. Apple Bloom. Thanks. Why were those girls bullying you? I asked next. They make fun of everyone who doesn't have a cutie mark, Apple Bloom said. Scootaloo then interrupted. They make fun of us because I can't fly, I smiled. Well, I have a cutie mark and I don't even know what it means, and I can't fly either. Not very well, anyway. Sweetie Belle got closer to me. You're very kind. Why haven't we seen you before? I wondered what I should tell her. I'm not from around here. I'm also not used to being here, so Apple Bloom interrupted and said, It's okay. You don't have to tell us if you don't want to. Scootaloo started messing around, and it tried to get her to stop, but she ended up stomping on my tail. I grit my teeth to keep from screaming. Scootaloo didn't say anything, but her friends told her to apologize. When the pain faded, I shook my head and smiled again. It's all right. It was an accident. Apple Bloom then got excited. Hey, why don't we go to my house? We can play some games. I chuckled at her excitement. It was adorable. All right, Apple Bloom, let's go. And that is the end of the story. As of now, there's only 3 chapters, and I'm not sure if they're going to keep making any more, but as of now, this was a very endearing little story, and honestly, even though I'm not that familiar with Teenage Robot, I think that how they got these characters into Equestria and interacting with everybody was very adorable, and I'd like to see more future chapters to kind of elaborate on this kind of thing, how these characters interact with the ponies, and especially that team up with the 2 Bug Queen characters. That was just perfect casting for the villains. It really was. So I think I speak for both TR and myself when I say that this is a very endearing little story. I would honestly say it's honestly on par with something like KP and Equestria Girls, where they took 2 different franchises that were very similar, put them together, and they actually had them interacting pretty well. So yeah, Metallic Heart, very entertaining. I'm the Pony Fanboy, I fanboy over ponies, and you just listen.